Former President Trump vowing to put Putin's invasion in Ukraine to bed, essentially. If he wins in November, he met with Volodymyr Zelenskyy, the president of Ukraine, today at Trump Tower. That was their first meeting since 2019, saying this to Fox after the meeting.
I learned a lot, but I think I haven't changed from the standpoint that we both want to see this end, and we both want to see a fair deal made. And it's got to be fair, and I think that'll happen at the right time. I think it's going to happen. The president wants it to end, and he wants it to end as quickly as possible. It should stop, and the president wants it to stop, and I'm sure President Putin wants it to stop, and that's a good combination.
Joining me now exclusively, House Speaker Mike Johnson. Speaker Johnson, good to have you here. We're going to get back to Ukraine, but let me get your reaction to this breaking news that is happening right now in the Middle East.
This is a big day for news, and there's a common denominator in so much of what is happening today, what you're talking about on the airwaves, and that is Iran. It is through their proxies that they are engaging in all sorts of evil, there in Israel, of course, and even here in the U.S. That's the headlines across the board. They must be dealt with appropriately. We need strength back in the White House, and that's the other common denominator here. The reason that Ukraine is in trouble, and Israel's in trouble, and Taiwan is in trouble, and all of our allies are nervous around the world is because Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have projected weakness on the world stage. Donald J. Trump will solve that problem, all these problems, and it can't happen soon enough.
You know, the window that exists here and the Iranian infiltration into the Trump emails, they are clearly trying to have an influence on this campaign. And now you see all of this action that is happening in the Middle East and this meeting that's about to happen at the Ayatollah Khomeini's home. We're waiting for Nasrallah confirmation. You know, this is a very hot situation. Do you think that President Biden can wrap his arms around this and, you know, make sense of it and in our national security interests?
This is far above the head of Joe Biden, unfortunately, and very, very tragically and dangerously for us. He is not capable of handling this level of crisis, and certainly Kamala Harris is not either. Imagine if Kamala Harris was the commander-in-chief at a dangerous moment like this. We're on the verge of World War III. This is the most dangerous time since World War II, and you have to have steady hands at the wheel. You've got to have strength. You have to have a leader in the White House that our adversaries fear, and that's not what's happening right now. The reason we're in this situation is because of the way that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have handled this. We have got to get on top of it. Look, I'm grateful that the FBI and the Director of National Intelligence are making a move on the Iranians that were engaging in foreign interference in our election, but they've also tried to put a hit on President Trump. They've tried assassination plots. No one's talking about that. Kamala Harris hasn't said a word about it. We have to take the threat seriously, and we have to act decisively.
Let me ask you about this week and about Zelenskyy's visit to Washington. You have met with him twice in the past. You did not meet with him this time, and then you sent him a letter saying that a stop that the U.S. ambassador, the Ukrainian ambassador to the U.S. made in Pennsylvania looked too much like a campaign event to you, and that you want her to be removed. You said he must remove her. So I guess my question is, or what?
Well, listen, I don't have more time for meetings. We've done enough of that, and my letter was very clear to President Zelenskyy. This was a major misstep. At a time when he needs the support of everyone in America from all parties, he should not be showing up at a campaign event for Kamala Harris, which is effectively what that was. They flew him around on a taxpayer-funded jet to go to an event in Pennsylvania, one of the key swing states in the election, to appear with a panel of Democrats from the nominee for the Senate, the incumbent there, to House races, and the governor who showed up, who almost was the vice presidential pick on the Harris ticket. It's unacceptable. He can't do that. I'm glad that he met with President Trump today, but he's got a lot more to do, and I think removing the ambassador is an important step to make a statement.
I'm assuming that you haven't had any.
This is a big mistake.
Any decision on that from them. We haven't heard any decision on that from them. But I guess what I'm asking is, does this signal any shift in your support for the Ukraine cause? Do you still stand by, because you've supported the all of the funding that has gone to Ukraine, and $8 billion more just went this week. Do you support that $8 billion more for military aid to Ukraine?
Well, the funding that Congress voted on months ago was important to prevent Russia from taking the capital city of Kyiv and setting up on the border of Poland, which would have then required us to fulfill our NATO obligations and send our soldiers there to help defend a NATO ally. We couldn't do that. As I said very clearly, I would rather send bullets to Ukraine than boys, American soldiers. But this is now a different phase. And what President Trump said today is exactly right. None of this would have happened if he had been in the White House. And that's very clear. I think President Zelenskyy agrees with that and understands it. And this cooperation is very important to make sure that evil doesn't prevail.
All right. Do you support the $8 billion that went this week? Is that a no?
That's not new money. That was already money that Congress
drawdown.
allocated. When we get into the first quarter of next year, we'll decide all that. But President Trump will be in the White House, and he'll be able to direct how all that's handled.
Speaker Johnson, so much happening, and we really appreciate you weighing in. Thank you very much for coming today.
World War III may be on the way. If you thought that it couldn't get any worse, we're cooked. We're cooked. A couple months back, I said we were cooked anyway, because nobody wants to vote and nobody wants to come together to fix anything. It's always an argument about something. We're cooked. You see the news, you see the media. Let's start with the facts. Everywhere you look, Russia, China, North Korea, the U.S., it feels like everyone is gearing up for war. I mean, you heard it. They talk about a nuclear strike. We're cooked. It's not just little, petty stuff anymore, like petty arguments. This is getting real. And a lot of people need to wake up. This is not a joke. This is not a joke. This could turn into something massive. A global conflict on a scale we haven't seen in generations. Like, are we all going to be, we already went through a pandemic. Now you mean to tell me I'm about to live through a war like my grandfather? This is crazy. We need to wake up. Let's talk about it. Russia, the war in Ukraine is still going. Is it going to be stopped? We don't know. As of right now, stuff getting hectic, and it's not cooling down anytime soon. Russia is making moves. Ukraine is fighting back. NATO is backing Ukraine with billions in military. Billions in fighting, pretty much. Heavy artillery. We're really living in the last days, man. And if nobody sees it, you need to wake up. You need to wake up, like right now, immediately. This is not a game. NATO might get pulled in, now that I'm thinking about it. If that happens, we're all involved. Simple. And we're talking about some real global chaos. NATO isn't just some small alliance, okay? This isn't just some small picnic army. It's a massive group of countries, including the U.S. And if one NATO country get attacked, the rest have to jump in, basically. They get attacked, one gets attacked, they have to jump in. It's just that simple. That's just like if you had a brother that was getting jumped, you're not going to jump in. We are talking a full-scale war with Russia. Yo. And that's a nuclear power we're dealing with. If you don't watch the news, and this is part of the reason why I don't, is because I just be like, what are we going to do to fix it? Like, nobody has a solution. It's just always negative. What's the solution to all this? This isn't Call of Duty. Like, I don't want to play Call of Duty in real life. It's through the roof right now. Don't get me started on China. I don't even want to go there. They're just sitting there watching this play out. If don't nobody notice, But they've got their own plans. If you haven't seen, they want, what is it? I seen something that said they want Taiwan, and they made it clear about that. They made it crystal clear, actually. They're willing to go to war for it. There are other places, like I think Korea's hiring people, not hiring, but you know, they're getting like regular people to join the army. They not playing. Yo, just thinking about it is crazy. If China, just think about it. If China invades Taiwan, the US has already said they'll defend it. They've already said it. We're doing too much as a United States. We're cooked. I think we biting more than we could chew. Going to war is crazy. This is insane. I would have never thought I would be saying that we might be going into a World War III. In a million years, I would have never thought that. Now think about it for a second. China versus the US. Just think about that. The headlines would be great, but in reality, that's World War III. Hands down. The South China Sea is one of the most contested areas. They've said this as well. In the world right now. They've already said this. China has been flexing its military. I know you've been seeing, like I just discussed, they've been recruiting people. Same with Korea. They've been recruiting people to go to war. Like they're preparing for it. They're not going to back down either. They're not going to do it. The tension of all of this is real. And one wrong move could be a trigger conflict with all of this. And it doesn't even stop there. Korea is always doing missile tests. And I know, like a couple years back, you was hearing that. But then when you actually do the research and you look, bro, they've been doing that for the longest. Why are they testing out missiles? Why do you think this is? You tell me. Kim Jong-un, is that how you say his name? Kim Jong-un is very unpredictable. And that's a scary thing. And if he decides to launch something for real, if they're already testing, I can't even put quotations because it's the truth. If they're already testing missiles and he decides to pull the plug one time, one good time, you best believe it's going to drag a bunch of countries into a mess. I just know that's going to cause a global meltdown. I know this sounds like a lot. Trust me. I know. Especially when you looking it up and you seeing videos, and it's heavy. It's heavy. But I'm not trying to scare nobody. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just telling you the reality of it. Like, this mess is not a game. This is happening, and we're on the edge of something that could change the world and go into a war known as World War III.